If you are not reframing a prospect's limiting beliefs or pre-handling objections before they come up in the first place, you are missing out on sales. So in this video, what I'll be doing is I'll be reviewing a call where I go over exactly how to reframe and pre-handle objections before they even come up for one of my coaching clients. Okay. As somebody who's closed over $6 million in sales and helped over 1,000 clients, pre-framing and reframing beliefs and pre-handling objections has been one of the key skills that allowed me to close the amount of deals that I had. And most of my sales that I would get would be objectionless because of it. So we'll dive on into this call review and hopefully you'll be able to take some big key nuggets from it. For a little bit of context, so this is a sales call for a TikTok affiliation marketing offer. So what they do is they teach people how to become an influencer on TikTok where they can start to make money and they can leave their 9-to-5 job. So typically the people who come to them are in a job and they're looking to become an influencer so they can get out of their job. So what I want you to do is pay attention and see how you can start applying the feedback that I give on this call in your sales calls so you can make more money. Okay, let's dive into the call review. Alrighty, let's go ahead. Let's hop in. I'm all jacked up on caffeine, ready to go. Alert. Let's take a deep dive into this call, man.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
Can you hear me good?
Yeah, I just put in headphones. I could. I'm in my car, so I could. Have a little
First
more
off, man, I want to
privacy
say
in the office.
I commend you for jumping on the phone with me, man. I know you didn't even want to jump on the phone today, and I told you I expect you to make a decision at the end of the call, and you still got on the phone with me. So I want to say I commend you for that, man.
Yeah, and I think he had mentioned like it was more of a DM process to get people on a call. Something to keep in mind, like telling somebody like, hey, I expect you to make a decision. It's a yes or no, like that type of thing. Those binary, more like hard sales tactics, especially when we're setting a call, like all it's going to do is deter people from hopping on the call. Like for me, if I hop on a call, like I know I'm a lay down, right? But I am a little bit more type A. So if you told that to me, like I'm not even going to bother. So you just got to be a bit careful when you're talking about, hey, like if you hop on the call, I expect an answer out of you, just because it's going to be very salesy. It's going to cause resistance to him. And then now in the conversation, let's say now he does hop onto the call, which means he has higher intent. Okay. Is because like even despite that, he's still willing to hop on a call. He's probably not going to be as open because you made it very, very apparent that's like, hey, I'm going to sell you when you hop on this call. Like I expect an answer out of you. So if we want him to be more open, really like in a DM set, like all we got to do is sell the call. If we try to do too much, then again, we're just going to hurt our show rate or hurt our conversations. Like don't do too much in the DMs, sell the call. And then from there, like just rely on your skill set, your questions, your tonality, your objection handling to actually get the close.
How's your day been going, bro? Where are you from?
I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. My day's been going pretty good. How about yourself?
It's been pretty good, man. Busy. How about yourself? What do you do for work?
So just kind of based off of like the body language and how quickly you're speaking, I can tell there's a little bit of nerves, which is totally understandable, especially if you haven't taken a lot of calls. So, but whatever you can do before you hop on the call to really like lower your nerves. Something that I did for a while is like on Zoom, I literally would not have like I couldn't see their face, and like that helped me. Okay. So that could be something you could do to like ease your nerves a little bit. I tend not to like to ask people like, oh, like where are you from? Just because again, it's a bit salesy. They're going to, kind of lump you in with other salespeople. So it's just typically best to get into it. Like, hey, well, what made you want to go ahead and book in the call today? And just start off the call a little bit more open-ended. And then we can start to dive into like what they're actually looking for.
For work, my 9-to-5, I am the COO of a CBD and hemp company, one of the largest ones in Louisiana.
Okay.
And with that, so my CEO, he is in a bunch of different spaces in business. We have spaces in like exosomes and neurointra monitoring, and so all
Okay.
kinds of different things. And
Sounds
so,
complicated.
yes, through him, we got connected with a company called Oleander Medical Technologies, and they are working on a clinical trial treating late stage cancer patients
Wow.
with metastatic cancers in Roatan. So I help facilitate the launch of that international study. And so right now I do a lot of patient coordinating, getting people in there, getting doctors on board, referring patients, things like that. So, yeah.
Impressive. It's some impressive stuff. Do you work today?
Right. I'm sorry.
Did you work today?
Yeah, I'm on my car right now. So,
I'm always careful of over validating somebody, especially with somebody who is like has a bit of an ego. And just the way that like he explained it, like there's definitely some ego that is caught up in like what he does for work. Like he's a CEO, and a CEO like does all this other stuff and things like that. So you'll start to recognize that language. So I probably want to like validate it, because it's just going to cause him to not drop the ego when we really need to get into the problem, as far as like, why, if his job is so amazing, is he looking for something else? Like that's really where the conversation needs to go. But if we validate like, oh, well, you're doing amazing work, blah, 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 it's going to be harder for him to start to admit that he has a problem.
Okay. Awesome. Well, let's just hop into it. I mean, to set a little bit of expectation, the way I normally run these calls is just ask a few questions. Should take 10 to 15 minutes. Just ask a couple questions. I kind of want to understand more about yourself and what you're doing right now, what got you interested in moving forward, possibly starting TikTok affiliate. And if everything checks out on my end, I'll go ahead. I'll show you everything we do. We can make a decision whether it's positive, whether it's negative. And if you decide to move forward with something else, I'll be perfectly okay with just giving you some information and shooting you in the right direction. But first off,
Yeah. So again, I want to have and then at the end, we're going to make a decision, just because it's going to cause them to be more guarded, just naturally. So and you can have a frame. Like me personally, I don't like using a frame, but if you're going to do the frame, like just do it a lot more like light. Okay, so the first part of this call is going to be pretty basic. It's just more to understand a little bit more about kind of like what you're doing now for work compared to like where you're really wanting to be potentially with like TikTok affiliate, just to understand like what that gap looks like, just to see if we can help. And then, at the end, if you feel like this might be what you're looking for, we can go over possible next steps. Like, would that help you? Oh yeah, for sure. Right, something just a little bit lighter. Still setting expectations for the call. Again, I probably want to put a time frame on it as well, because what if your questions need to go a bit longer? So I would just make that a lot lighter if we are going to set an agenda, a frame at the top.
I do want to ask, I believe were you speaking to Michael on TikTok, or did somebody give you a call? Or
so I saw Michael's videos on TikTok. Honestly, I'm like I kind of said in text, I don't exactly know what I guess I got myself into with y'all, because like at first I thought looking into it, it was just the like blueprint thing, and so I paid like the $20 for the blueprint. And I hadn't spoke to anyone at that point, and then it offered something that was like normally $297, and they were like, oh, now it's $197, $100 off. And I think I had declined it, and then I went back to try to get that added in, and I couldn't find that. But then I got emails to get set up for this call. And yesterday I did a call that was like 15 minutes or so with someone named Jack, I believe.
Yeah, Jack. This is one of my associates. Okay.
So that right there, if they had a previous meeting, like I don't know how you guys keep your notes, but you need to at least know who they had talked to and have some understanding of the conversation before. Because if you don't, then it's just going to come across a little bit unprofessional, right? Like if you don't even know who they had spoken to previously, because if somebody had set an appointment for you, like there should be some type of like notes or something giving you some type of basic understanding. Now, typically, I'm not even going to dive into like their notes or do much of a recap, because I want to be able to have the conversation. But at least like address the fact that they had talked to someone else. It's like, okay, and it looks like you talked to Jack yesterday. He left a little bit of notes. I always tell him keep it fairly high level because, I don't want to assume too much like on your end. And then you can go like more into your questions. Like what was it about like what we did over here that really made you want to go ahead and look into this further? Because he's a buyer lead, okay, which is good. So there's a lot more intent here than he's letting on. He's being a little bit nonchalant about it, but like I said, a lot of this is because he's guarded because of the way he hopped on the call and some of the different like the agenda and the frame that we put on him.
So essentially, I can provide a little bit of clarity. So Michael has those low ticket $20, $197 offers where they're kind of blueprints, like you said, and they'll teach you like kind of the basics. They'll walk you through everything. They're very simple. And then the reason we're on the call is like Jack, he might have mentioned it yesterday, but I'm not sure if he did or not. It's essentially like one-on-one coaching with Michael and with his entire team, and it's a community, and it's all these different things that are put together to be kind of like the perfect storm for people who are looking to get into TikTok affiliate. So that's essentially what that is. So if that provides a little bit of clarity, can I ask why you wanted to get into TikTok affiliate in the first place?
Okay, good question, right? Like what has you looking into it? You probably don't want to assume that he's like for sure in, but he's definitely like taken a couple steps forward. I'm going to be a little bit weary of like solution dropping too early. So just something to keep in mind, but start to understand like what got him here to begin with. I would want to ask this is probably like one of the first questions I would want to ask. Like what made you even want to look into this, or what made you want to go ahead and book the call? What have you seen that made you want to go ahead and chat with me today? That way we can just get into it a lot quicker.
I mean, truthfully, it seems like there's a lot of money to go around. And I mean, I told you what I do for work. I work very hard. And so, I mean, not saying that it's not hard work being a TikTok affiliate, because it is, but it's,
it's a different kind of work.
right. It's a lot easier to get to a higher amount of money.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure. So how long have you been working there for with what you're doing right now?
About 3 years.
Straight out of college or?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what made you decide to go down that path and move forward with that in the first place?
So I worked at Starbucks before this, and with that, I kind of moved up pretty quickly in that and was like running stores and doing everything that store managers do, like basically right after I turned 18. But because of my age, they didn't actually want to promote me to it, and they kept sending me to different stores to get them on track and help fix things that store managers did wrong. And so eventually I left and came and started working for this company, kind of lower in the company, Five Leaf. And then we got hit with some regulatory and law changes in Louisiana for the company, and I kind of helped navigate through that and ended up being the first one in the state to have legally able to be sold products of its sort. And so the company grew really, really fast. And so with that, I ended up kind of taking over hiring, firing, getting everything really set into place. And so over time, I just moved on up. And then with that, I got introduced to different industries and businesses, things like that. And so that's why, like I said, I'm not for sure that I'm going to switch into being a TikTok affiliate, because I make pretty good money here. I know I could make more with TikTok affiliate.
Gotta smack this.
So can I ask you real quick, how much money do you make with that at the moment, if you don't mind?
I make about.
So and this is something to our we're giving this guy a lot of free reign to just go on. So he was starting to talk about his problems, and then because we didn't really probe on any of the problems as far as oh, well, it's hard work. Oh, how do you mean it's hard work? Or if I can make more money. Well, what's even coming up for you that would even have you looking at ways to make more money? Right? Being able to probe on those things is get him to be more open about the problem, admit that he has a problem. But because we gave him a lot of free reign, his ego's tied up into his job, probably makes low six figures. We're about to find out. Okay. But he has a title. So he's going to want to, again, like defend it. Like, yeah, like I'd want to make more money, not work as hard, but like things are really good, right? We just need to cut him off before he gets to the butt. And this is when, especially with people that are going to have a little bit higher ego, we got to keep them on point, because understand people think by talking. So as a salesperson, I get to direct their thinking by, not in a rude way, but with my questioning, being curious, directing what they actually talk about. So I'm going to be probing on things that are going to expand the problem, and I'm going to ignore or interrupt, in a tactical way to get him back onto the problem. Okay, so just not allowing him to have like too much free reign. And with someone like this, when I said like you got to smack him, he's like, oh, well, I make good money. Hold up. When you say good money, compared to what? All right. So it's like we need to like clarify, like what does he even mean by that? And then if need be, like we can like reframe it. That way we can start to pre-handle this notion that he makes good money. Because if he's going to tell you he makes $100,000 per year, but some TikTok affiliates make $100,000 per month, working half as hard as he is, like, is he really making good money? Probably not, right? So it just depends on like what you compare it to.
100,000 a year.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'm sorry, I just cut you off. I didn't want to.
No.
I didn't want to go over that.
No, all good. So yeah, that's why, and like I said, my career is pretty established. One thing that kind of draws me to affiliate is more.
And something you can do as well when they say like something like, oh, well, I make good money, like 100,000 per year. You go, oh, per month? Oh, no, per year. Oh, okay. No, that's not bad, man. You could be a little bit playful, but like that mentality of like, okay, 100,000 per year is good money. Or you can have a conversation about going from good to great. Oh, so you're at good, but you want to get to a point where you can actually make great money. Ah, okay. No, that makes sense. So we need to reframe that thinking that where he's at is okay, or it's good.
More so that I like the flexibility because I love to travel.
Yeah.
And so I would like to be able to do that with work a little bit more than I do now. Like I get to travel places for work, like Roatan, Jamaica, Cancun. I'm going to Vegas on Wednesday. So I get to travel, but I would like to be able to be in places that I want to be while doing work rather than going to places that work sends me. So that's kind of one of the things. In addition,
we need to probe on that. Like, what does he mean by that? Like, get him to expand more. Are there certain places he can't go? Like, how long has he been wanting to travel and not been able to travel? Like, what is causing that? Okay, so we need to start to dig into, like, he's letting you in on these problems. We just need to be able to start to probe into them.
I've kind of always been told that I have a great personality to be a content creator and influencer of that sort. Yeah. Like I've been told that since back when Vine was a thing, and then people wanted me to make YouTube channels in high school, and I just never did. And once TikTok came out, I never even downloaded the app until recently. And so I started making content on there, and I mean, gotten like over 600 followers this week. So I mean, people are liking what I'm putting out so far. So
that's awesome.
So that was kind of more so the path I was going. Is I wanted to start doing content creating and affiliate marketing with that as well. And so that's why, again, I'm not necessarily for certain that I want to pay all the money and do all the course and things like that, because part of it.
See, again, like he's letting you in on these problems that he's having, and the fact that like he's always wanted to be a content creator, but like never really done it before, and he doesn't make a living doing it. Like he has 600 followers. Like, okay. But because like we're not probing in on these problems as far as like, what do you mean? Like the travel, like the money, like diving into the money, we're giving him such a long leash that like anytime he opens up on a problem, he talks himself out of it. Because again, he's more guarded. He's tied up in his position. He makes 100,000 per year. Like you'd be surprised. People who make like the low six figures tend to have the highest egos, right? So you just understand with somebody like this, like you really just need to like probe it on the problem and get them to admit that they really do actually have a problem. And right now, since we're letting him on such a long leash, he keeps talking himself out of it.
For me also is the journey and the growing it organically and stuff like that. And since I have such a good job, I part of me is going back and forth on whether or not I just want to, obviously keep working my full-time job and then grow my TikTok organically and hopefully get brand deals along the way, or if I just want to full send, put the money out now, see if it works, and then maybe quit my job. So I don't know.
Well, and that's the awesome thing about, especially TikTok as one of these things is you don't have to quit your job, right? That's a decision that you'd be able to make as you're going with it. And again, with the journey as well, I really value that as well, because that's the same exact thing that I've been feeling as I go down that, too. And as everybody around me, I see them going around it as well. And it's awesome. If I can share a little bit of a perspective, I feel like the journey might be, and again, this is up to you. It's up to interpretation. But at least on my end, the journey was a lot more fun when I was, not in the trenches of it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that you are either, right? It's not a disrespectful thing in any way. But
no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, when you're in that path where you have everything rather than you have everything you need to go ahead and just skyrocket it over time, and your progress is just very, very, clear. It becomes really, really fun to just see how high that you can go. And that's just part of the game in itself. But I see your goal. So
he gave you a really, really big potential, probably what the objection is going to be, and we validated it. So, like, we need to see doubt in his mind. First of all, we need to poke doubt in like his current job. Okay, as far as like, how much is he actually working? Where is he not able to travel? What is he talking about? Like, it's good money, but like it seems like there's a lot more money he could be making for less work. Okay, we need that problem. Then from there, we need to debunk that he's just going to be able to just stumble across like the magic solution that you guys have created and like helped other clients with. So you can ask him, well, do you want to just hope and pray you're able to figure this all out on your own? Or do you feel like if you actually had a bit of guidance and like we can actually guarantee you're able to get there if you put in the work, like which one would you rather have? Oh, I mean, I would want guidance, but what if you don't? What if you just like hope and pray? And you're just one of those other TikTokers who does get some views, but they're never able to actually make a living out of them because there's thousands. It's probably millions, right? So it's like we need to debunk that. We can't validate his belief that, okay, everything's great. I mean, I am working more than I want to. I'm not able to travel. I'm not making the money I want to, but everything's great. And I'll just be able to figure it out on my own from like a $20 like blueprint. So we need to start to reshape this person's beliefs. And you don't do it in an a-hole way, but it's just about like asking the right questions, making sure we're probing on the right problems. Again, he's going to think by talking. And because we've given him such free reign that like his mind keeps going to, well, things aren't that bad.
Making more money, obviously, it's the clear thing. Not everybody wants to say it, but it's obviously the clear thing that comes along with this. Having more freedom of being able to travel around, how big of a thing is that for you? How long have you been wanting to do that for?
I've always loved to travel. I mean, even now with work, I try to squeeze in whenever I can. Like, even if I go spend 4 days wherever, just take off after a Thursday. And so, I mean, it's a pretty big thing for me, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. And with what you're doing right now, I know you try and you still can travel, but is that part, obviously that's part of the reason you want to move into something like this, but in your job right now, are you able to travel as much as you'd like to? And even with the finances that you're making as well, even if you were making double what you're making right now.
So it's like we ask the question, just let them answer the question. Because again, now we're digging into the problem. But if we ask a question and then we go into like something else, like we fluff it up, then it's just going to take away the power of that question.
Would that help you be able to travel even more too?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
You see how it's like, oh, are you able to travel the way that you're doing like at your job? And he started to shake his head no, but then we added something else on it and he's like, oh yeah, for sure. So it's like no pain. So we took him right out of it.
So is there a point in the future at this job too, even with promotions in the near future, where you see yourself being able to get that freedom, or is it kind of out of reach?
In the near future, I mean, within the next year, probably. Within the next 90 days, probably not.
And we probably need to understand like how much is he actually working, and how much is he actually like looking to be working, right? So we can get a little bit more context.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, we're working on a cure for cancer right now, so I mean, that could go anywhere tomorrow, you know?
True.
I mean, I had a patient literally, or a patient's husband call me today who I literally thought the patient had died back in March, and she's completely in remission.
Wow.
And like, yeah, so, and she was
Impressive.
stage 4. All of our patients are stage 4, so
It's really impressive.
we'll see. We'll see. Who knows?
That's
I might
really
pass y'all up.
So even you know,
We can't validate, right? Like, and it's like, and part of it is because we're giving him such a big leash that he's able to like talk about these things that aren't really super relevant, like to the conversation. Like how much time is he working? How much is he able to travel? How much money is he making? That's what the real conversation be about. But like, and he's saying like, oh, I might pass you guys up. This is really important work, all these different things. But again, he's buying products. He was trying to buy more products, but couldn't find them. He's hopping on a call. He's taking an hour out of his day to come chat with you. It's just like he's wanting to change. He just doesn't want to admit it. And part of that is, again, from the beginning and then not being able to probe on the right problems. So just like making that shift in your mind that's like, okay, this person wants to change. Like that's why they're on the call with me. There are so many steps that he had to take in order to actually show up on this call. So just understand that. Make sure we understand his actual problems. We probe into them and we get to dig deeper into them.
I guess with knowing all of that as well, why even look to switch into something like TikTok affiliate rather than waiting out that year or waiting out the possibility of all these things coming to fruition without having to change course whatsoever?
Good question.
Right. No, absolutely. And I think that's kind of why I think doing the more organic way and using Michael's lower level things like the $200 course or whatever that was, and then like the blueprints will probably be the route I end up having to go. Because, like I said, that could happen within a year, but also it could go completely opposite, and it could not get.
Well, do you want to take the slower route if you didn't have to? Like, why does he want to take the slower route?
FDA approval or anything like that and go poorly in the year. So being able to have those marketing skills and the platform and the connections and starting to build that organically, I think would be good, because then if things don't work out in this, I already kind of have that going and I can still do what I do here while also building that. And then hopefully by the time, if I lost my job or something like that here, then I would already have a good start in it, and then I could reach out and like
he's saying hopefully. Like hopefully this all works out. Like we gotta debunk that, bro. like this dude, like I'm getting a little bit irritated listening to this guy. Well, do you want to live off of hope? Can I make a suggestion? As far as like you building this up like organically, the best TikTokers out there who are really able to build their brand Is it something that they're putting all their focus in and, learning all the different strategies, or are all the top TikTokers just, it's a side thing? They don't really put much attention to it. Oh, well, it's like they probably put all their focus into it. So why would you choose to take the long route where you're not able to put all your focus into it when you could actually learn how to monetize that so you could step into that and actually build your brand the right way? Like, why are you choosing the harder route, bro? Like, what happens if you do choose the longer route? We hope and we pray we get it figured out, but because other people are able to do this full time, they're out competing you. Like, what happens then? Smack this dude around.
Connect with a program if I needed to, like a bigger program.
Okay, I see. So it's more of a possibly a security thing, or
I guess maybe, I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna lie and say that I'm like on this call right now because I have a strong passion for affiliate marketing. I have a passion for making money. I have a passion for travel. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. I have a passion for, I mean, to be quite frank, I'd love to be famous. I watch a lot of reality TV. I'd love to be on a reality show. So I have a passion for putting myself out there. Um,
can I ask real quick why it took you as long as it did to get into something like this? And that might be something that even you might not even know.
Again, don't take the pressure off. That's a good question. Like, bro, why haven't you done anything in the past if this has always been something you wanted to do? Right? So it's like that's a good question to ask. Don't take the air out of your balloon. Right? Don't give him an out. Well, you might not even know. It might be, right? So like, you asked a good question, just allow him to answer it. And then what we want to do is we want to get a belief of like why he's been doing nothing about it. There's a lot of inaction in this person. So we need to like reshape that.
At this point, right? Getting into it now and seeing all those.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess more so insecure. I mean, so because I say I like putting myself out there, and I mean, I do. But, there's always, insecurity, fear of rejection, especially in things have changed a lot over the past few years in social media, especially. Yeah. Whereas before it felt like you had to be like talented and, pretty and all these things. And like now you can kind of get away with a little bit more, in a sense. And so seeing how many people just like freaking hot twat girl, like, like, come on, like, we're making her famous, we're giving her a show. So, after seeing stuff like that, that's really what it is.
But where do you feel like that fear of, whatever the fear was? Because like what I would try to do in my mind, okay, this is where my mind went immediately. Like his fear of like rejection, which I would try to push him to like tell me that's more fear of failure. Like where does that fear of rejection actually come from? Like, are you scared like if you go on all in, like you might fail at this? Well, do you feel like that might be part of the problem? Do you feel like that's part of the reason why you keep on telling yourself that you can just do this the long route and you don't want to go all in because you're scared to fail? Because like what does that belief like actually cost you in the past 6 years of you wanting to actually jump into this influencer game? So like, is that belief of fearing to fail, not going all in, is that worth keeping moving forward? Well, why not? What if you do hold on to it? What if you continue not to be that person who goes all in and we keep pushing this down the road? We hope and pray we figure it all out. Again, like tie in those beliefs that he's already told you. Again, I don't want to get to this point and have to deal with all these beliefs, but if we're still at this point, like me personally, I feel like I can turn it around, but like we need to start to address his beliefs. It's like fear of failure, fear of rejection. Where does that actually come from? And do you feel like that's actually the problem? Because again, There's been a lot of years of inaction, and he's still telling you that he doesn't want to go all in.
And then in addition, since, like I said, I've been working since I've been 16, I kind of have been grinding so hard, and there was always that kind of fear, which is still something I fear is being looked at as, more unprofessional, because the people I work with, especially like in this cancer industry, is like all my calls are with doctors or patients, and the ones that are my people.
Yeah, why is he afraid to look unprofessional if he knew he could just make a living at this? Like, he doesn't believe like he can do it. Like, there's a fear of failure, right? So it's like that's the belief that's really holding him back. Okay, so it's like we need to address that. Like, that's why he's telling himself he doesn't want to go all in. And that's why he keeps on guarding himself that, like the COO job, like, super great. I mean, I make 100K. I know there's, 18-year-olds on TikTok doing that per month, but, my job's great. Right? So it's like, so just like addressing that belief.
My peers are lawyers, doctors, like, everyone is so much older than me and more educated than me. Like, I'm only 23 years old, but I'm doing things with these people. And so.
Only 23. Again, he's given himself excuses.
I've always had like kind of like an.
And by the way, like, I know you're young, and some of this is just going to come with time and having more conversations. But what you like, if you listen back to your calls or when you're on calls, like, just be aware of people's limiting beliefs and address them. Now, typically, you're going to only have to address them like a couple times. And then from there, like, if they still do pop up, you just got to do really, really quick little things because they've already really been addressed. But you have to teach people how to talk on some level, especially if they haven't done anything about it. They're looking for guidance. They're looking for coaches. And if you teach them how to talk, you actually teach them how to think. Okay? So just be wary of his limiting beliefs because there's a lot that are like creeping up. And if we just continue to let these go on without addressing them, like, at the end, like, dude, it's going to be a uphill battle.
Like an imposter syndrome with that. And so I felt like posting online and trying to do that kind of just fed into me not being mature, I guess.
I see.
But yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I get it. Let's see. So, I guess how long have you been doing it for now? I know you said just recently, but
Yeah, I think I posted my first TikTok like first week of June, something like that. And then I kind of tried to post a little bit consistent for like 2 weeks. And then I think I got shadow banned or something, and so I didn't post for like 2 weeks. And then I came back and posted again, and my content was doing a little bit better. So since then, it's been about 2 weeks again since I've been posting. So
run me through the numbers a little bit more on it of how many followers you're at, how many views you're getting per video.
Yeah, so before I stopped posting, I was kind of at that like 200-300 views, and then I came and I was also sitting at like, I guess, 200 to 300 followers, something like that. And then I came back probably about 2 weeks ago and I posted, and that one had gotten like 800 views. And then the ones I had posted after that were all just like kind of getting consistent about like 800 views. And then some would just kind of pop off out of nowhere a few days later. And so now, a bunch of the ones that have been within the past, 2 weeks or so, I have a few that are still sitting at like 200, 300 that I posted like yesterday. And then like a couple from a few days ago that are sitting low, but I mean, some have been like 1,400, 1,200, 3,500, 4,500.
Yeah.
And then the lower end ones have been like the 800s and 900s, and then with a few like 200 outliers. And then I know on Tuesday of last week, so a week ago, I remember telling my roommate it was her birthday, and I was like, oh, I hit 400 followers today. How cool. And on Saturday of this week I hit 1,000, so I got about 600 followers this
Yeah.
week. And then today, I think this morning I was at like 1124.
Uh-huh.
So
What are some things that, because it's going relatively well, but some of the, is there anything that you're struggling with it, or no?
So again, just understand like he's telling you like he's perfectly, he's probably gonna go the more like organic route and like just keep on trying to figure it out on his own. So I would stay away from telling him that's relatively well. I'm like, yeah, those are decent results. Like, what do you feel like might be preventing you right now from being able to like get more views and subscribers quicker though? And I asked the question in a way that if he answers the question, even if he says he doesn't know, he's buying into the frame that there's something he's doing that is preventing him from getting more views and getting more subscribers. So it's like, what's actually been preventing you from being able to get more views and more subscribers quicker though?
honestly, not really. At first I was kind of struggling because it felt awkward talking to the camera, and then I realized that I can just pretend like I already have a following and a fan base, and then they'll just kind of chime in, and it's worked. Like I gave my followers like a little, um, whatever, like a name, like a fan base name, and like even though like at first there was
This dude is hilarious, by the way.
nobody actually calling themselves that, I kept like opening my videos and being like, "Hey, Deluligans," and like people were like, "Oh yeah, that's me," and now I have people like who are actually getting merch from me, like just other small content creators, things like that, and so um, right now I guess it's just more finding stuff that people are gonna want to see to stay growing and at that pace.
How
I
do you
think
mean?
is where I'm struggling, and keeping things interesting and making content that isn't all about, trending sounds and things like that, and content that is original sounds and original to me that is still interesting is something I'm looking for.
Yeah, and monetizing it too, right, as well.
Right.
Okay. Um, yeah. So for
So again, he lets you in on a problem. We just got to expand on it. Like, why does he want to do original stuff? Like, why does he, like, what is he actually struggling with? All these different things. So just take the time and understand like what those problems are.
example, with me, back in the day, I'm kind of out of it now, but back in the day, I was doing stuff like that, like TikTok. Like I was in TikTok kind of heavy, and I had a similar kind of start, possibly a little bit slower. I think over the course of, actually no, it was pretty similar. Over the course of a month, I got to about 1,000 followers. Um, I had a clothing brand, so it was a little bit different. I was promoting my
Oh,
clothing
nice.
brand. But what happened was, and this is real, like this is actually genuinely happened to me. There was like,
Okay, just something to keep in mind. Um, if you draw attention to like honestly, genuinely, this is real, things like that, then it can imply that you haven't been up until that point. So there's no need for that. Just something to keep in mind.
like probably 3 months, I was sitting at like 2,000 followers, and my videos would just get like 300 views, and there was like one video, like one like trend that I would post continuously because it would get like 3,000, and then over time would go down and down, and then I switched my style, and I started working with other things that people around me in kind of like a community fashion. It wasn't Michael's community. Michael, I don't even think he was around back then. This was over a year ago. But I was with a community. They tipped me off to something. I started switching to it. And it was over the course of like 2, 3 weeks. I had literally millions of views on every single video that I posted. Um, it was with a TikTok shop thing as well. So it was like the same exact thing. And it's cool because now I get to talk to people who are moving into that. And I did this before I've seen other people even.
Okay, so this is good. Like you're telling him a story that like what had happened to you, okay? Which is good. Which he can like when you tell somebody a story, naturally, they put themselves like as a protagonist, like as the person in the story. But what you should do is think in your mind, how can I craft this story to pre-handle this guy's objections? Right? So you can explain like, oh, like I was in the same trajectory. I was doing this, this, and this. Like I was just like hoping I could figure it out. But to be frank, like I was trying a bunch of different things and I was just not getting like much results. It wasn't until whatever it was, right? Like, you know, I took a chance. I really invested and got in part of this like group where they're really, you know, diving more into like the actual like strategies and the tactics and things like that I started to do A, B, and C. So it's like you paint the picture like, hey, dude, I was you. I had that same mindset. It wasn't until I dropped my ego, I did something else. I invested. I got a part of a group. I actually started learning the tactics that I got the result you're looking for. Okay. So like shape it. And I would probably shape it to like, if you say this story on every call, I would probably shape it like that every time. To where like I was trying all these, because it's true. Like you're trying all these different things, you know, you're trying trends, you're trying this, it wasn't working. It wasn't until you actually learn the skills that you were able to pop off. And you had to drop the ego and learn it. So it's like, that's this guy. Okay. So like you can shape that story to pre-handle his objections. Okay. So really like sit down and I would map out that story and just like, okay, how can I start to pre-handle people's objections? Because it's a good story because people can see themselves in you, but we can map it out better.
In it, like it was when TikTok Shop was just starting, so they were really pushing it out. So what I'm suggesting is what might happen is it's going really well, and it will probably keep going very, very well. But being inside a community, like obviously, and you realize that too, there's things that will be able to be improved. It's just that fact for you that you don't know how much it will be able to help rather than just going by yourself.
Like again, we're validating, like it's going really, really well. Like compared to what? Like compared to hitting millions of views is 800 going really, really well. So again, like just be careful of some of the things that you're doing to validate. I understand probably the reason why you're doing it is to ease the tension, but they need to feel internal tension to make a change. Like he needs to feel some type of pain in order to actually want to change.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Especially for that price tag, and I completely understand that. So let me ask, what would make it, like what's almost your ideal criteria that could possibly make it worth it to you where you would jump on something like this? In terms of brand deals, in terms of monetization, in terms of community, in terms of coaching, going viral, blowing up within the next few weeks, months.
I don't know, truthfully, because I don't know what a good area marker is for that. Because, you know, like an easy thing to say would be like, oh, you know, for $4,000, like I expect that you'll just give me an account with 100,000 followers on, or you know, like it's easy to say like something like that isn't reasonable, but it's not really easy to predict an area because I mean you can give me all of the tools and skills as possible, but if I suck at talking to people or making videos or being consistent at uploading,
So yeah, it's more so the last thing you said rather than the first two. And I see
Right.
that a lot too. It's more so in terms of skill level, and like you just said a few minutes ago, like nowadays, if you can be anybody and you can go big on social medias like this. It just has to do with that consistency level of how much work you're willing to put into it. And that's with everything too, right? And you've been working since you were 16, you've been grinding. So it shouldn't be a big issue. It's just knowing what kind of areas to focus on, what kinds of things to do before other people tap into them, right?
Good. We validated. Okay, you're a hard worker. That's not going to be a problem. You just don't have the knowledge. Solid.
But yeah. Keep going though. I'm sorry. Keep going.
I kind of forgot what the original question was.
Kind of like your ideal criteria.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I definitely I don't think I want to. I don't know.
So let me
I
ask.
don't
So
know.
if you were able to, say in the next 90 days, push yourself to crazy, crazy numbers, start making an extra, let's say even, what would be your target number monthly from TikTok, just making a living off of it?
I mean, around 10,000.
Okay. So let's say you
Yeah,
were making
just so like
$10,000.
so that way it's around kind of what I bring in now.
Yeah. So let's
What
say
that
you
would
were
be a little bit.
making $8 to $10,000 a month just from TikTok. You had a very large following, let's say over around 50,000 followers, maybe even higher than that. Um, and you were kind of just posting a few times a day and making $10,000 from it. You were able to travel. You were able.
Something to also keep in mind is one of the words that you keep going back to is kind of. So ambiguity in sales is going to just cause people to put their walls up. It causes uncertainty in their mind. Something to be aware of just taking out the kind of or kinda out of your language, especially when you're talking about. So let's say like we're able to come in, help you get to that 10,000 each and every month, like we do with our other clients. All they really have to do is post a couple times a day. Now, obviously, there's going to be work that comes with that, but you'll be able to travel, do all these things. Like, what difference would that actually make for you? Right? So take the ambiguity out.
You were able to do all these things that you would want to do now. If you were able to kind of put yourself in that position and really like think about it and actually feel like, what would, if you could walk me through like kind of like what your day to day would look like if you were able to get to that point in the next 90 days?
I mean, I don't know. I mean,
It sounds crazy, but it really is a possibility. It really, really is.
so are you talking like as if I had switched to do this full time at this point?
Really, if you had the decision to be able to do that, right? The freedom comes from the choice to be able to do what we want, and freedom's a big thing for you. Freedom.
We probably just ask him, does he want to do this full time? Because some people probably don't. Like, so it's like, yeah, some people come to us, they just want to make 10,000 more side income and stay on their job. Other people want to do this full time and really scale it up from there. So, what does success actually look like for you? What's your end goal? Where are you trying to achieve? And let's say like we're able to come in, give you the right guidance to achieve that, like we do with our other clients. Like, what difference would that actually make for you? Okay. So you can be a little bit more specific on the questions you're asking.
Freedom isn't freedom isn't traveling every week, making thousands of dollars. Freedom is the choice to be able to travel every week, the choice to be able to leave your job, kind of like whatever would be up to you. That's why I'm saying walk me through your day to day if you would want to do that or not, right? And that would be a tough decision.
I mean, yeah,
You have a good energy, which is good.
yeah.
But it would be a decision, right? And that's the beauty of it.
hmm Yeah, I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's such a broad question.
What do you think you would
So
be
we just
doing
need
in 90 days if that were the case?
So like, let's say like, hey, let's say like we're able to come in here 90 days from now, we're able to get you to that 10,000 each and every month, like we do with, other people, in the program. For you, what does success actually look like? Would you want to stay full-time in the job you're in now, or would you want to do TikTok full-time and just really focus on scaling it up? What will you actually be looking to do? What does success look like? Oh, okay, why that? Why go full-time in this? Or why keep your job? So then let's say like, okay, you have that extra 10,000, or let's say you go into this full-time, 10,000 each and every month. You're able to travel, do more of the things like you're looking to do, besides like the numbers, right? Because at the end of the day, like money's just numbers. What difference would that actually make for you? So that's a lot more specific of a question to get him to really start thinking.
The case.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I guess I never really thought about if I didn't have to show up to my
Well, if you did think about it.
like I think about all the places I want to go and the things I want to see whenever I'm not here, but I don't think about it as like what my day to day would be if I didn't have.
Well, walk me through all the places you want to go, things you want to do, things you'd be able to do if you were there in,
I mean,
let's say,
I
90
want to
days.
go all the. I want.
So again, like he is saying, like we don't know if he wants to leave his job, but it does sound like if he could do this full time, he'd want to do this full time. So you just probably ask him, like, okay, are you looking to do this full time? And do you feel like you not even knowing you not being in a 9 to 5, what that would even look like? That might be part of the problem of why maybe we're not wanting to go all in and we're wanting to take things slow. Like, because if we can't even picture it, like it's going to be really hard to get you there. So if you really just sat and you thought about it. Okay.
I want to. I'd probably spend about a month in Europe and go see all the different places in Italy that I want to see, like
Oh, okay.
Florence and Positano and
Yeah.
Milan, and then I'd go to probably visit France and
Yeah.
London and
Why Europe?
Greece,
And
Ireland. Like there's so many places.
It sounds awesome, but I mean, how would it feel for you? How would it really feel if you were able to do those?
So you're getting it and you're trying to get to a feeling. Fantastic, man. So your mind's in the right spot. But we can like really hone that in. Okay. So like what you want to do is you want, especially when you're talking about travel, you want to get them to a very visual point. Okay. So it's like, oh, like why Europe? Why go there? Like where do you feel like that drive to travel like comes from, or why is it so important to you? And where's like the first place you would go, right? Like number one on the list, you're able to like, do this full time and you could just travel. Where's the first place you would go? Why there? Okay. And you being able to travel, like what that really do for you personally, you can ask that if you want, but then you want to paint the picture. So it's like, so if you really picture it in your mind, you being able to not have to go into the 9 to 5, you book that first flight to Milan and for the next month, you're just going to be traveling around Europe. You being able to actually book that flight, not have to care about anything else at that moment. Like, how would that actually feel? So you see, like I look up, which is going to cause them to look up. And then like I'm really verbally like pacing out my question to get them to really internally and think about it. If you really picture it, I'm using like vivid visual language. So then what they'll do is they'll look up, they'll picture themselves being able to book that flight, not have a care in the world. And then like there should just be a huge smile that comes across their face and like, oh, it's going to be amazing. I guess like with what you're doing right now, like if nothing does change in your job, how long do you think it would take for you to be able to just book that flight like that? So what happens like if nothing changes? You keep doing what you're doing now for another 6 months, another year, and you're never able to actually take those trips. Consequence.
Those things comfortably in just a short 90 days from
Liberating.
now.
Right. Feel great. Feel like I succeeded.
Right.
Because that's like what I want to do in life. And so, if I can do that in 90 days, then it's time to set new goals.
Right. So sooner than later, I mean, would be an awesome thing.
Right.
I mean, so let's say it really comes down to like what the best thing would be for you. So what I'm gonna do is I'll show my little presentation. I'll show you everything we do. I'll show you inside of our Discord.
So now that we're transitioning into presentation, I would have probably asked him a consequence if he keeps on doing the same things he's doing now and he's not able to travel, blah, blah, blah. Now, when we go into the presentation again, we don't want to lower our status. So be very, very wary of this. I'll show you my little presentation. Okay, I mean, based off what you're telling me, especially when you're talking about like, wanting to make more money, but also having like time freedom, based off what you're saying, like what we're doing would definitely work for what you're looking for. So if it would help, I can take you through exactly like how we do that and specifically how we help people in your specific situation. Would that help you? Yes, it would help me. So I'm not like saying like, oh, is it fine if I show you this? It's would this help you if I showed you this? I'm doing you a favor. I'm the expert. I have all this knowledge over here. I'm making money. I have time freedom, right? I'm not stuck in a job. Okay. So you don't got to be arrogant about it, but it's like you are helping them. So don't lower your status, like my little presentation, things along those lines. Because again, just little things like that, especially with somebody who has like a higher ego, it's just going to be hard to chip away at them.
I think there might even be a call going on right now. I'll show you everything, and do all these things and show up to some calls. And
I do.
Okay, so I went ahead, I skipped through the presentation. If you want feedback on the presentation, just go ahead and let me know.
What's your what part about it? Yeah, but what part what part do you feel like won't help you about it?
I mean, there's no part that I don't feel like won't help me, and I do like that you have the guarantee that you'll, make the money back, but like just putting the money down to begin with is
it's scary, right?
Yeah.
And I get it's scary. I've had to go through that same exact thing. And we can talk about how we can make that work for you in a second, but I want to know, so I ask everybody this question, but what part about it do you feel like would work the best for you? I guess which part do you feel like would help you the most? The brand deals, the one-on-one, the group, the course.
I mean, probably one-on-ones, just because obviously learning from people who know what they're doing, like, and even if I do know what I'm doing, you can always improve. You can always hear from a third party. So I think that would be the most helpful. I mean, obviously the brand deals,
yeah, we kind of
helpful,
just
but
what we do is we to put it in kind of like a what's the word like a metaphor, a little bit, an analogy is it's like we're teaching you how to fish. You've heard that analogy. Don't give them the fish, teach them how to fish, whatever it is. We teach you how to fish, and then we also give you fish as well, right? And then we guarantee that if you don't make your initial investment back, you're gonna get it all. So I like it. It sounds good. So with that one-on-one coaching, and with the brand deals and with everything else in general, I mean, do you feel like it would help you reach your goals, faster, more streamlined than something else, anything that you're doing right now?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Faster, more streamlined.
Sounds good. So if that's something that you like, then what we can do is, because I know that $4,000 is a tough amount to put forward, and I get it's a lot of money.
Okay, so before we start going in to try and handle the money, we just need to clarify what he means by putting it down. Oh, like, what do you mean it's tough for you to put it down? Oh, this, and this. Then we can go about actually like handling the money, but you don't want to jump the gun and try to start to handle something that's not the real objection we're trying to handle.
I mean, I guess, like I said, we can either finance, I can split up the payment for you. Is there anything that you feel like?
See, like right now we're going into logistics, and it doesn't sound like he's bought in on spending the money, like the commitment to change. He feels like it will help him, but is he committed to actually change? Like, those are two wildly different things. So I need to get that commitment to change first before I go into logistics.
Feel like, would that make it easier for you if I could split it up?
I mean, like, fine, because I mean, you had asked me if I know what my credit score is. So, like, who are y'all financing it through? I guess.
So we have either a firm or we work with a bunch of different people. So what it would be is I could send you a link real quick, and you would just put in some information about yourself, and they can, I believe.
So again, like, he's asking you a question. So it's like, yeah, we do it through this and this, and there's a couple different ways. So it's got to depend on what works best for you. Is there any particular reason why you ask? Flip it right back on him. So then we understand where his mind is at, what his concerns are, so we can actually start to handle his concerns, not at this point a little bit as far as like just guessing that he doesn't have the money, which it might be the case, but it is a little bit of guesswork right now.
I believe get it down to about a couple $100s a month until it's paid off. And the reason that that's good for a lot of people is because, like I said, with those brand deals where they're paying you each at the lowest $300 a month, is it'll pay for itself just through that alone. And then getting the commission will make it even better. And then say something goes wrong, you aren't able to make it all back, you'll just get the full payment back refunded to you. So is that something that you want to look into? I could send you the website. You could go ahead and check it real quick, or
I mean, you can still send me the website. I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably not gonna make a decision today. I'm gonna have to think on it and you know.
Perfect.
I get it.
I'm sorry.
Hell yeah. So, but again, so we didn't know what objection we're handling, and then we just try to figure out the logistics, and we go for it again. Like we don't have the commitment to change. So now it's showing up more here.
I get it. You don't have to be sorry. Don't worry about it. I basically don't have feelings. I've been on a ton of these calls. I'm just kidding. But let me ask. I know. I get it. I get it.
No, I get it.
But just so I might be able to possibly help, what are some things that you have to think about? Obviously, I know you have to think about the initial payment, but is there any?
Don't answer the question for him. And typically, I'm going to want to shift that a little bit because, again, we want to take the pressure off. So, okay, that's not a problem. Just maybe so I can send the most relevant information over to you. What do you feel like you need to go over in your mind over the next day or two just to see if I can help? So when somebody needs to think about it, there's more fear involved. I'm going to slow down, which is going to help them slow down. And then I need to flush out the actual objection, which for him, it seems like it's going to be the money and a little bit of him thinking he can just do it by himself.
Is there anything else that you have to think about? I might be able to help you.
Well, I mean, so I know you said like obviously you don't have to. I wouldn't have to quit my job per se, like getting into this and stuff. But I mean, let's be real. Once you're into it, and you know you make some money and you start traveling, shit happens. You don't have to work that hard for my other money. So I mean, ultimately, once I started being pretty successful with this program, I would quit my job. I mean, even, I guess, who knows, even maybe before I was as successful as I should be before quitting. But there are...
Why is that? He's been telling you how great his job is. Not only saying, oh, if he's not even gonna, he'd be willing to quit before he even replaces his income. Why is that? Right.
As I mentioned, a lot of opportunities with this job, and so I do worry about separating with that or putting myself out there so much that it ultimately hinders, anything.
So again, now we're coming back to that fear of failure, insecurity, like his fears before. So it's like, that's why like that really needed to be addressed because boom, here it is.
That I have going on in my professional life on this side. So, I mean, that's just kind of my main hesitation more than anything is fully committing to the influencer and affiliate marketing, et cetera, life rather than the business science life that I'm currently in.
Yeah. And do you feel like there really isn't a way to do both, or?
I mean, I'm not going to say there isn't a way, but I mean,
but you can, right? You
can.
It's up to you.
Yeah, and you can, and that's just.
I meant like you can. I meant like you can say that there isn't a way to do it. That's what I meant.
Oh no, I mean, in theory, there is, and I just don't know for me personally if that's where I'm. And so that's kind of what I need to think about and evaluate. Is this something that I think I can keep doing with the job I have now, and then also put in 10 to 15 hours, maybe of making content a week, and then, or also, because I mean, I have the extra time to do that, but am I going to want to as it becomes a job at that point? And so, it's just a few things like that, and just really considering all of the details of it. I mean, I love the program y'all have going on. I mean, it's great. I mean, if everyone is as great as you, then I feel like I would learn a lot about selling things. Because I mean, you have me basically with my credit card out. But no, I mean, I almost got it. Yeah, almost got it. Yeah, and I mean, I might call you back tomorrow and be like, oh, fuck it, or today, who knows?
It really just, I get it. It has to do with like the pros and cons, right?
Yeah. So that's the
putting the logics together. I get how it is. And let me ask, I'm not going to push you to make a decision today because I would be a bad person to do that.
So again, if we say things like that, we're putting that in his mind that that's what we're about to do. Right? Like we say like, oh, don't think about this pink elephant. What is he going to think about? So there's no need for that. Okay? Like if you want to get the same point across, because I understand like what you're trying to do. You're trying to shape the way he perceives you. So certain things you can always add into. Yeah, I've been in your shoes before. I understand what you're going through. Really start to like get on the same side of the table as him, that you've been in his shoes. Something that I'll do from time to time is like, especially if things are getting a little bit, it's getting a little bit more direct. Like I'll tell him like, hey, you can exit the call like right now if you want. Like, I'm still going to be here. But is that going to be the best thing for you? Because if you're wanting to change, right? So you could tell them like, hey, that you can exit the call if you want, like something like that. That's a better way to take the pressure off, like telling them that they have an out rather than say like, hey, I'm not going to pressure you, and then try to go into objection handling mode.
Do that. I'm not going to push you into making any bad decisions. The only thing I'll try and push you into, if this is something that you're open to, is what we can do. I can take a deposit, and less so as an investment to us, but more so as a commitment to yourself. A commitment to yourself to act.
So it's like, at this point, we're probably like, typically, okay, let's go down the money route, like handling money, and then let's handle the, get commitment that they actually want to change. Then from there, we can start to deal with the uncertainty. Then and only then would we start to talk about payment options. And like, let's say he has terrible credit, then we can talk about a deposit. Okay. So it's, as far as like the levels of commitment we're looking for. So paid in full is the highest level. So this includes financing, payment plan, deposit, take credit card details and schedule payment, and then commitment to change and a follow-up. So we need one of those, but we want to go through them like bit by bit. So we go through everything to get the paid in full. We can't get the paid in full. Let's talk about a payment plan. Can't get the payment plan. Let's talk about a deposit. Can't get the deposit. Let's talk about, okay, you get paid then. Let's go ahead. Let's schedule a payment. Take down the credit card details, schedule a payment. Okay. They don't have their card, blah, 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 blah. You know, commitment to change, follow up, something.
Actually put thought into this rather than put it all behind you, because I get how it is, right?
No, trust me, I'm putting thought into it.
I completely get it. No, trust me, I completely get it. But once we're off the phone and we're not speaking to each other, and this is with everybody, it's human nature. It takes a lot to bring yourself to be like, oh, I'm gonna have to put this $4,000 forward. It takes a lot. So more so as a commitment to yourself to put thought into it and weigh out the pros and cons. And I'm more than.
So this is a good way to frame the deposit, but I don't understand why we're going for the deposit. Okay. So I would say like overall, like this call, it's not bad. Okay. They're like, this person was really tricky with a lot of their limiting beliefs. So one thing I would say to just be wary of is to start to listen for these limiting beliefs and address them like as they come up. Like that's going to be the biggest thing. Address these limiting beliefs as they actually come up. So that way, when we get later on in the conversation, like typically you're not going to run into this stuff because it's already been addressed. Okay. So address them like as they come up. When they are opening up on their problem, start to probe into their problem, direct the conversation. If you give them a long leash, especially somebody with an ego, what they'll try to do is they'll minimize their problem. Because again, they have an ego caught up to like, oh, I'm this important person, like I'm the COO, but I'm now admitting to somebody that like I'm in pain. So they want to go back, okay? But it's not that bad, okay? Also with the framing, we're going to make a decision at the end of it. Like that's just going to cause their guard to just be up when it doesn't have to be. Okay. So just a couple of things that if you really iron them down, like you really like tweak them, like you'll get this person to be a lot more open. Like this person, like again, they were a buyer. They had already bought something. They're a buyer lead. So he's a good lead. He also, even with us coming to like, oh, you better like, you know, hop on the call, buy, or like, we're going to make a decision. He still hopped on the call, even with that external pressure. So like, this is a good lead and this person wants to change. Okay. So if we tweak those things, like we'll be able to get people like this across the line. Okay. Let me know if this is helpful.